Hey, I am live. What is up? Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode, I think, 892. I am on StreamYard this morning. Welcome to StreamYard. There is a reason I'm on StreamYard today. No, it's not to get all fancy and share my screen and do all the things that StreamYard allows me to do because I pay for it. No, I received some great advice at the Madison Card Show yesterday. This is what I love the most about being a dealer at a card show, the conversations you have and the things you learn. That's another thing that I don't think I've talked about in terms of what do you take away? You know, it really annoys me when people say making money as a dealer at a card show is the most important thing. It's not. There's really not one most important thing. There's really not one most important thing. It's just a collective. So setting up as a dealer for me, the most important things, there's multiple. Making money, yes, is one of those, but it's not the key. Yeah, I don't want to lose money. I'm not there. I'm not there solely to lose money, right? But it's making money. Networking. I am a show promoter, so building that network of other dealers to do my card show. Buying. I get some of my best deals at before the show opens and after the show closes. Before the show opens, because I get first dibs in those bargain boxes. I get a lot of great stuff out of bargain boxes when I set up as a dealer at card shows because I beat the customers. And after the show, guys get great deals like my buddy Paul, Baseball Card Haven on Twitter. He's like, hey, do you know any dealers that would want these boxes? I don't want to take them home. I'll give them a discount. And so he sold like them all to another dealer, basically at break even for him. But he's like, hey, I don't want to take this stuff home. He didn't lose money and he didn't have to take stuff home. So sometimes you get great deals at the end of the show. Hey, I don't want to take these 4-row boxes home. I'll sell them for $40 a box. Bam, boom. So buying bulk at the end of the show is good. And what I've always failed to mention, which I was reminded yesterday during a conversation, shout out to Chris. I don't know if Chris is watching live, but he is in our Facebook group, Hobby Evolution Facebook group. Card Fellas on Twitter made his first trip to the Madison Card Show yesterday. He's like 4 hours away, but he was driving through the area this weekend. And so we had a great conversation. Oh, excuse me. Went down the wrong pipe. We had a great conversation. He was filling me on some like things you wouldn't think about that he picks up at garage sales that can sell for hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, what? But he also shared, he's like, have you thought about sending your Hobby Evolution to the podcast platforms? And remember, back when I started this show, a few of you were with me back then. There were about 12 watching Hobby Evolution 892 episodes ago. This isn't a podcast. This isn't, I think I initially called it like my video diary, journal, whatever you want to call it, because I just wanted somebody to talk to while I worked from home and I didn't have coworkers to vent. So I wanted to vent on YouTube, but I didn't. It's not a podcast because there's really no formula. It's just me turning on the fake microphone. It used to be plugged in. Now it's just a prop and sharing my thoughts on the hobby, but my neighbor Frank and his robot lawnmower and stuff like that. And trying to stay away from hot topics like Dick Perez and Diamond Kings because they've been shoved down. Dick Perez has been shoved down our throats on every other podcast in the hobby over the last couple of weeks. Nobody cares about my opinion on fanatics. And if you do, you shouldn't. So I want to keep it light. So I never thought, so going and let's go back on course, Bo. So I never, the podcast platforms never appealed to me. It's like, it's just a YouTube show. I don't want to be on podcast platforms because it's not a podcast. So he's like, you can really expand your reach. So I thought, okay, I already pay. And so it's actually quite simple. And I don't even know. I think I saw John's comment about more expenses. I don't think there's any expenses. I'll have to look into I think he said Podbean. If anybody's familiar, I think it's free. I hope it's free because I don't want to pay for it. I'm already paying for StreamYard that I'm using today, that I use about once a month. But you can like download this in audio. So I'm like, I'm going to try that. Chris, I'm going to try that tomorrow for my Madison Card Show review. I'm going to download the audio. I'm going to download Podbean. I'm going to upload it and let it do its work. He said there's really no work involved, and I don't think there's any expense involved. I already pay for StreamYard, so might as well use it. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to test it out and see if it becomes now. And here's the thing. You're like, well, you're going to take these extra steps. You don't even take the extra step to go live on StreamYard. Yes, you would have a great point with that. So we're going to try. We'll see. Give it a good run and we'll see. John brings up a great point here, and I'm going to get back to the chat, but I'm just kind of reading chats as they pop up. We'll get back to the chat in a second. I found that you were limited in the amount of hours you can do for free on most podcasting hosts. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what I was under the assumption. I think even StreamYard, I think I'm limited. I mean, I don't get close to my limits, but I bet, since I'm a long form, I bet if I did every morning on StreamYard, I may have to like bump up my subscription. So that is something else I would have to look into. Yes, I pay for StreamYard, but I have to see if, well, what am I only limited to 100 hours? Well, that's, 8 or 9 days of Hobby Evolution. So those are important points that I'm going to try it. Maybe we just do it one day and see. I don't think it's if it is, if there is much cost above my basic StreamYard subscription, then it's probably not something I'll do. We'll see. So those are some of my initial thoughts here this morning. Happy Sunday. I'm on StreamYard. I can show the chat. This is kind of what I enjoy about StreamYard. I can show the chats as Dan is in the house from Korea. Randy, the bargain boxer, is here. Are you in Shipshewana today or on your way to Shipshewana? I was surprised. Nobody was talking about Shipshewana. One of my dealers left a little bit, like an hour or two early, because he was driving and he's setting up in Shipshewana. But he was the only one. Like nobody talked about. I noticed there were a few people that I thought, because there were no other shows yesterday, like there were no shows anywhere yesterday. I mean, not anywhere, but like within a 3 to 4 hour drive, there were like no card shows yesterday, which I can always tell because a lot of the Chicago guys will reach out. Hey, you got tables this weekend? I'm like, oh, there's no Chicago shows on that date. Now I'm going to run into, usually when I have it third or fourth weekend, usually the last weekend is like the good. It seems like card shows, at least in this area, are kind of concentrated during the first 2 Saturdays and Sundays of each month. So I'm kind of going unopposed if I'm going the last 2 Saturdays of the month, which obviously is what I try to do, but it doesn't always work, especially in the summer months, because the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolen Drive is a wedding venue. They had to flip the room yesterday after the show for a Sunday wedding today. So that's why my June show is my next Madison Card Show. Let's throw that banner up, by the way. The next Madison Card Show is on Saturday, June 17th. And I know that Oconomowoc is also that day. It's nice. The Oconomowoc show is nice because it's like an afternoon evening show. Their show runs from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So a lot of people will come to Madison in the morning, get there early, 7:30, 8 o'clock before the doors open. By the way, Madison Card Show, you can come whenever you want. Just don't piss off the dealers. I tell dealers, I usually have people walking the floor early. So if you show up at 9 o'clock, you're going to miss out on about an hour and a half of sales. So tip for those that maybe new at setting up or may set up in the future. But I try to tell everyone that. So June 17th. So a lot of people come in 7:30, 8 o'clock, walk the room. And then by 10, 11 o'clock, they're on their way to Oconomowoc to get to the beginning of that show. Maybe stick around for a couple hours there and go about their day. You could do wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, 2 shows in a day. So I do lose a couple dealers because they'll, set up in Oconomowoc, but it's nice for customers because they can do that double dip. You dip? Let's see. John says, Spain the hat, please. What does Spain the hat mean? So this is, splain, like Lucy, splain to me. So this is a hat. The hat says Brussels. This is something that, so I bought this in Brussels. It's probably not even made in Belgium. It's probably made in China. Actually, it doesn't even say where it's made, but I bought it in Brussels at one of those tourist traps. The reason I bought this hat, I actually like the hat. If I didn't like the hat, I wouldn't be wearing it. This all started, my hat thing, my hat fetish started on our honeymoon in Italy. We were in the Amalfi Coast and it was blazing hot. We chose September so it wouldn't be blazing hot, but guess what? It was blazing hot, especially out on a boat on the Amalfi Coast. So I wanted some head protection from the sun beating down on me. And we stopped. I don't know if it was in Positano or Amalfi, but in one of the tourist traps, I bought Italia hat. And I like it. I like the Italia hat. I like white hats, but I've kind of come around to black hats. So our next European trip, we went to Amsterdam and Belgium. And in Brussels, I bought a Brussels hat. I also bought a Delirium Tremens. So that was kind of the thing. Like every country I go to, I want to buy a hat. I don't know why. I bought a Delirium Tremens hat. I did buy an Amsterdam. The Amsterdam hat is like a gray. Maybe I'll wear that tomorrow. So I wear hats on Sundays usually, but I'm in need of a haircut. So that's the hat. I bought this in Brussels at one of those tourist traps. Let's see. Max in the house. He was there. I got to see Max yesterday. He said the show was great. That's good to hear. Max didn't even get to the upstairs ballroom until like 2 o'clock. I heard, speaking of that, I heard mixed reviews from dealers on how they did yesterday. I got a lot of, it was okay, and that means they probably did what they normally would do, but they had higher expectations. If you would ask me, how did you do? Guess what my response would have been yesterday at the Madison Card Show? I did okay. Because I really wanted to make more, but in reality, it was probably exactly what I should have made. So I did okay. Most dealers reported, okay. I had a few dealers say I did great. I think I had more dealers down in the downstairs ballroom report great sales. And the traffic was good. Like the traffic was obviously down from the past few months. January, February, March, April, those are the big months for traffic at card shows, especially here in the upper Midwest. By the summer months, it gets tricky because there's a lot of competition going on. I mean, we had competition alone yesterday, Memorial Day weekend, Brat Fest across the street. It was 80 degrees and sunny, beautiful weather. Why hang out with a bunch of smelly dudes at a card show, myself included? But traffic was better than I had anticipated. So that was a good thing. And a couple of people asked me about Brat Fest. They're like, yeah, Brat Fest, does that bring in a lot of people? No, it doesn't. In fact, it's probably the Madison Card Show probably brings in more people. The Madison Card Show sends more people to Brat Fest than vice versa, than Brat Fest being like, oh, hey, because if you're going to, and here's why. Here's a little tip for you. Here's why that is. If you're coming to the Madison Card Show at the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolen Drive. You park at the Sheraton Hotel parking lot. You come into the card show. You fondle some cards. Thanks to Sports Card Radio, I'm on a card fondling kick. If you haven't noticed, I've been saying that a lot lately. That's all thanks to Sports Card Radio, because they always talk about card fondlers. So anyway, people come in, shop at the Madison Card Show, and then after the show, it's like, hey, it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Let's go have a brat at Brat Fest and listen to Saving Abel and Slaughter. And so you can walk across the street, get a brat, get a beer, listen to music at Brat Fest. However, if you're going to Brat Fest, by the way, it's a short walk. You walk outside the Sheraton, you walk a few steps to John Nolen Drive, you wait for the light to turn green, you walk across the street, and a few more steps, boom, you're at Brat Fest. However, the reverse, if you're going to Brat Fest, you have to sit in traffic because it's like they have to have extra traffic signs because it brings in so many people. I think through Saturday, they sold like 67,000 brats. That's a lot of damn brats. But if you're going to Brat Fest, you have to sit in traffic off the belt line, wait to turn left under Rimrock Road. You're sitting on John Nolen Drive for 20 minutes. Then you have to go in, you have to park. And basically, you're parking probably even further than what you would park at the Sheraton. However, if you're going to Brat Fest, don't park in the Sheraton parking lot. But if you're going to the Madison Card Show, park in the Sheraton parking lot and then walk across the street. Don't take Madison Card Show parking away. So in that sense, it's kind of a waste of time in reverse, going to Brat Fest and say, hey, let's walk across the street to the Madison Card Show. Nay. It's more the reverse. We're at the Madison Card Show. Hey, let's go to Brat Fest. It's an easier walk because Bronco, I don't know if Bronco's in the chat, but he asked me at the end of the show after we were packing up, he's like, I think we're going to go over to Brat Fest. He's like, is it walkable? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I would encourage you to walk as opposed to drive because it's going to probably take you twice as long to drive and park and walk into Brat Fest as opposed to just walking over from here. God is great in the house. He is in Japan. What is up? We've got Korea and Japan representing this morning or over there this evening. Austin's in the house. Good morning to you. Max says, really wish I would have pulled the trigger on the boxes. Which boxes were those? Which boxes were those? I didn't buy any bulk. Yes, I made some bad buys yesterday. Made some bad buys. I cannot, I may have some small wins, but in the grand scheme, the overall, my buys were bad. I got some really cool Cubs cards, but for like my cards to flip, didn't do well. And I want to talk about that. Good morning, Donald. What's happening? Harlan in the house. Good morning to you. John's talking about podcasting. We hit on those topics. Dan says, glad you added his last name to that phrase. Oh, Dick Perez. Right. Bo knows his lane, a rarity in the hobby content world. Thank you. Cheers. Ziggy No in the house. What's happening? Let's see. Oh, we talked about the podcasting. Ziggy says, I don't understand podcasts. Seems likely everyone has a podcast. They also lack this engagement that I love. I appreciate that. Now I do listen to a lot of podcasts. But I don't listen to hobby podcasts. Like when I listen to podcasts, I will listen to, there's a digital, it's not really, well, I guess you could consider it digital marketing. It's a social media marketing podcast. I don't listen to it regularly, but every once in a while, if there's a topic that I want to tune in, I'll listen. Most of the podcasts I listen to are true crime and wrestling. Those are the podcasts I listen to. Conrad Thompson's stable of podcasts. Usually I only listen to, I used to listen to them all. Now I've pared it down. I only listen to Tony Schiavone's What Happened When podcast. And then depending on the topic, I'll listen to the Bruce Pritchard podcast, which I loved. And I remember when they were like a year in and there was like rumors of Bruce Pritchard going back to work for WWE, which he ended up doing. It's like, oh man, I don't want this podcast to end. And now it's like, now I'm picking and choosing which episodes I listen to. So those are really the only podcasts I listen to: wrestling, true crime, and every once in a while, some social media marketing podcasts. Low Roller Scratcher, are you my opponent this week in your fantasy baseball? It's a close game. No, I am not in the fantasy Hobby Evolution fantasy baseball group. But I will be during football season. So I will run the fantasy football league. Hall of Fame card collector in the house. What's up? Good morning. Sheena is here. What's happening? Awesome show yesterday. Wifey didn't let me go to Ship Shawana. LOL. In-laws in this weekend. Bummer, dude. Did you get a brat? Did you get over to Brat Fest? Let's see. John says, Ziggy, I have a small band of listeners that don't use YouTube. Everyone consumes differently. I think daily or topical shows suffer the most on podcast form. That's good insight. I do know of many people that listen to this and they don't. One of the guys mentioned, he goes, I'd hit the like button, but I don't even have a YouTube. Like I don't sign in. I just go to YouTube and listen. So a lot of people that watch or listen to the show don't have YouTube channels or even sign-ins to where they can like it. In fact, I had my wife sign up for a YouTube, not a channel or anything, but just, hey, sign up for YouTube so you can like my videos. Let's see. John says evergreen stuff works best on podcast. That's a good point. That's a really good point, because I'm not going to go back. I like topical stuff. So if there's a podcast that, say I'm out of listening to podcasts for a couple weeks, and say it was something that was news relevant 2 weeks ago, if something came out today, like a lot of times, and this is, for example, because I don't, and I'm picking on Hobby Hotline because it's one of the only hobby podcasts that I listen. I listen to John. I watch Zach and Porter, Sal Dougie, Herman, Victor, the rookie card specialist, like a lot of people that are in this chat. But in terms of like the Hobby Hotline podcast, if something breaks on a Monday or Tuesday and they're talking about it on Saturday, like I'm already like, I've consumed enough of that content. I don't care about, at this point, I don't care about opinions. There was something that was actually topical last week, and it's like Hobby Hotline came on. It's like, I'm not even going to consume it because it's, by this point, it's like a monthly magazine. Like today, subscribing to a magazine, like by the time it hits your mailbox, it's outdated because we have this 24-hour news cycle and we can get news instantly. And, within 2 hours, the news is old and outdated. So that's kind of, when it's evergreen stuff, that works best. You're exactly right. Stuff like when Uncle Rich and Dr. Jim Beckett are on Dr. Beckett's podcast, like that stuff, most of their content is evergreen. It's sharing stories. And that's what I like to consume. I don't care about people's opinions on what fanatics should do. I don't care about the what ifs. I do care about the what is, but not the what if. Let's see. Bargain Boxer says, I didn't know Ship was today. I'm saving all my money for the National in 60 days. Yeah, I had some national talk yesterday. East Coast Tom was in the house. Love hanging out with East Coast Tom at the end of the shows. And he was talking with another dealer, and they're talking about plans for the National and like where to stay. They're like, hotels are probably getting booked. So I overheard that. I'm like, hey, me and my buddy, we split a room. It's $75 a night. And it's actually not that. It's the Ramada in Wheeling. So if you're looking for, it's a short drive. It's like 15 minutes. And it's easy. It's not like you're not taking freeways. You're not taking turns. It's literally one turn, and you have to make a turn. If you're coming from the Stevens Convention Center, you have to make that turn either way, left or right. It's Milwaukee Avenue. So basically from the Stevens Convention Center, you take River Road, which runs right right there in front of the Stevens Convention Center. Take River Road. I think it's west or northwest, whatever direction. It's away from the city. So it is west. And the address is Wheeling. There's a small airport next to it, which it's a small airport. So it's not, you don't hear airplanes. There's also like a McDonald's. There's a Dunkin' right there. There's an off track. What is it? OTB, off track betting. We went, me and my buddy at National last time, or one of the spectaculars, hung out there. So there's some stuff right around. There's a bar restaurant attached to this hotel, and it's actually pretty nice, decent food. Because what I like to do after the National is go back to my hotel. I've been on my freaking feet all day on mostly concrete until I sit down at the singles club and just look through cards. And I like to go back to my hotel, have a couple beers, and look at my cards. So that's what I like. And I can do that at the hotel bar. It's the Ramada. Address is Wheeling. It's cheap, and it's like 15-minute drive. I love it because in the morning, I'll hit McDonald's one day, Dunkin' the next, McDonald's the next, go back and forth between the two. I'll have my coffee, my breakfast burrito or my breakfast sandwich, drive in, windows down, music up, and get ready for my day at the National. So that's what I love to do. So it's the Ramada, and it's in Wheeling. It's on Milwaukee Avenue. And again, super easy drive, all that. I wish they had a referral. Do they have a referral code? Hey, speaking of referral codes, if you want to sign up for Card Dealer Pro, use the referral code CUBS, CUBS. You'll get 500 free scans. 500 free scans when you sign up for a paid subscription to Card Dealer Pro. Go to carddealerpro.com. Promo code is CUBS, CUBS. There's the affiliate code for the day. John is getting vertigo from the banner scroll. I think I can stop it from scrolling. Let's see. There you go. June 17th is the next Madison Card Show. Let's prevent John from getting vertigo. Where are we at? I don't have to say that as much in StreamYard. That's another perk to using StreamYard as opposed to YouTube is I don't have to scroll as much, and I have timestamps. So I know right now I'm 17 minutes behind in the chat. Now I'm 14 minutes behind. Tracy's in the house. Good morning. John says dealers are always negative. Their cards are great. The ones you want to sell them are horrible. Isn't that the truth? Here's why we're going to use the highest comp on the card I'm selling you, and we're going to be using the lowest comp you try to sell to me. John says dealers are like middle schoolers. Ziggy says holiday week hurt traffic. Sounds like no. It affected. I would say hurt, no. Did not hurt traffic. I would say it affected traffic. And just being summer, I think, traffic's going to be down at all card shows outside of the National and, the biggies. But your monthly shows are going to see an impact on traffic. It's slower in the summer. There's too much competition, especially here where it's frickin' 6 months of winter. People like to be outside, do outside things. We've got wedding. This weekend we had not only we had great weather to compete with, graduations, weddings, Brat Fest, festivals are a big thing. I'm missing the Janesville Card Show next weekend because I'll be at Anawan Fun Days. So there's just a lot of things that we have to compete with here in the Midwest because we don't have 12 months. We don't have a year round. We have 6 months basically here in Wisconsin to deal with good weather. So we like to be outside of hotel rooms and looking at cards as much as we can. Max says, just got to get the Sheraton to get that air on sooner. That shared wall with a pool makes that room a sauna at times. I know, man. That's like a constant battle. And it's frustrating because, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing the hotel can do about it because what happens is the thermostat, it's not like, if it is, I'm sure it is zoned, but the same zone, like the hallway upstairs and the lobby downstairs are on the same zone because it's a mezzanine and it's all wide open. So in the summer when it's blazing hot outside, they have to crank the air to make it comfortable in the lobby. So they crank the air, and upstairs, it's cold as ice, and vice versa. In the wintertime, it's cold as hell downstairs. They have to crank the heat so that hallway upstairs gets super hot. Now, in the summer months, that downstairs ballroom, it's warm, and you add that frickin' pool next door, all that humidity, it gets really stuffy in that room. And yeah, crank the air. Even in the upstairs ballroom, like where I was set up on my side of the ballroom on that wall, it was like 15 degrees warmer where I was, maybe 10, than it was on the other side. And I say it probably wasn't 10 or 15, because I can tell in my house when it's 2 or 3 degrees warmer than normal, like it feels like 10 degrees. So maybe it was only 3 degrees warmer on my side than the other side. But that 3 degrees, it's like, wow, I walk to the other end of the room. Man, it feels good down here. It's freaking stuffy on the other side. Small Town Collectibles in the house. Who are the top guys in 2006, Bowman? Well, you put me on the spot. 2006. That's a good question. And I'm gonna normally I wouldn't address that, but it's something that's gonna bother me if I don't look it up. 2006 Bowman. Is it just regular Bowman, or is it Bowman draft? 2006 Bowman. Do we have a checklist? Let's see. We've got some, looks like there's some variations. I don't think there's much to be looking for in 2006 Bowman. Okay, here we got rookies. So Hanley Ramirez, $1.50 card, because I just had one in my eBay store. Adam Wainwright, might get $2 for that. There's nothing to look for. Oh, prospects, we got the first Bowman of Alex Gordon. Again, a $2 card. Is there like is Verlander in that? He might have been 05. Scherzer, I think, came after. Yeah, I think you're out of luck on 2006. There's really not much in that one. Like Alex Gordon's the headliner. Was the headliner then? Probably the headliner now. So not much to be looking for in 2006. Max's traffic was actually pretty solid, I thought, but you'd know better than I. Most of the dealers I dealt with were priced very well, willing to deal, not surprised they did well. Good deal. That's good to hear. Yes, it was. Traffic was solid. Down from January through April, but it was better than I expected for a Memorial Day weekend. Ziggy says, are breakers box rapers or unwrappers? I love breakers, but I don't, when I buy into breaks, it's not for the gambling. Now, there's a little gambling element to when I buy into breaks because I'm hoping I get like an autograph, but I'm a team collector. So in Bowman, I bought into a Bowman break. Now, it was a gamble for me because I could have gone out, if I didn't pull decent stuff, maybe I overpay. And I did overpay for the one break I bought into for Bowman. I didn't pull any autos. I also bought in week of release when everything was inflated. I did pull a Mervis and I sold it right away. So I got, half my money back in that one sale. But that's how I look at it. Like, it's more, I'm a team collector. So I like breaks because it allows me to potentially hit autographs that normally I wouldn't buy or want to buy because I would be priced out. And I'm getting something as long as all cards ship, which I only buy into breaks where all cards ship, paper base included. Although the one Cubs break I was in, paper base didn't ship, but I bought the paper base spot. There was a spot for it. All cards ship. And if you are buying into breaks and you want your paper base to ship, be wary. Just because it says all cards ship doesn't mean if you buy in for the Cubs, you're going to get the paper base, because all cards are going to ship, but there may be a separate spot for paper base. So just make sure you look to see what the spots are. If there's a Team USA spot and, somebody on your favorite team, he's only played for your team, but he is in a Team USA uniform. There's a Team USA spot. You are not getting that card. The Team USA spot is if you bought into the team. So I like breakers. Good morning. Flawed Thinker in the house. What's happening? Max, the 4 rows. Yeah, he's Paul was like, oh, I got to get rid of these. I got to get rid of these. And the first couple people I asked said, no, you might have been standing right there. Right after he sold those, he had 2 or 3 people come up looking to buy supplies, and he had already sold like boxes, and he'd already sold them. So he might have pulled the trigger a little too early, and I think he sold them to Tom. So Tom might have been able to make an extra couple bucks on that deal right away. Bowman Sapphire at $375. That's a hard pass for me. Not buying it. That's a hard pass for me. Let's see. John says, I wonder how many made bad buys with brats yesterday. I did not. For a moment, I considered going over. I was going to tag along with Bronco, ask him if it was okay. Hey, can I tag along with you guys? But at the end, I'm like, I just want to get home because it's a long day for me. I was awake at 4, which is early for me. I was awake at 4. I was at the Sheraton by 5:15, 5:20. It was, for me, it was a busy show. It was weird. And so a few people asked me, how was the show? And I said, it was weird. And my wife goes, what do you mean weird? It just was weird. Like I felt overwhelmed all day, but I really wasn't. I felt, and so I was, and I've been thinking about this, like self-assessment. Why did I feel overwhelmed and so busy yesterday? I had a couple no-shows, which pisses me off. Well, the one was a valid excuse. One was he's not going to do my show anymore because it's 2 times in a row, and it's the excuses are starting. He's running out of excuses now. It's just like, you're done. You're not doing my show. So the day kind of started with me getting that message. It's like, really, you MFer, really? So that was frustrating. But I had less tables filled. So it wasn't, and that's the annoying part, was because I had to turn away 20 to 30 dealers because I was sold out. And yet, if you came out to the show, you saw 5 empty tables. And that's frustrating because at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., I can't go down the list and say, hey, I've got tables. Like, well, we are 3 hours away, 2 hours away. Or I wasn't prepared, so I don't have my stuff ready. Anyway, soapbox over. So it was just a weird, like I felt busy, less tables. But last month when I oversold, I wasn't set up. Like I had to give my tables up because I oversold the show. So I was able to like walk around more. I had people at my table all day. My sales were lower than expected. I mean, it made up for, like, I made more than what I would have sold the tables for. I made more than what the tables would have generated. The revenue would have generated from me selling the tables to dealers. So that's good. So that's a win. But for having customers at my table all day, it was smaller transactions. So I just felt like busy all day, like just overwhelmed and busy all day. So I think it was only weird. And I say it was a weird show. It was only weird in my own mind. It was only weird in my own mind because maybe it was different. I haven't set up every time. This was the first time I've set up at a sold out show. Because last month when I oversold, I didn't set up. March, I set up, but I only had 100 tables. I had the whole wall in the back upstairs. Prior to that, I set up in I didn't set up January, February. I set up in November and December, and that was because, again, I only had 100 to 110 tables sold. So it wasn't a sellout. So at 125 tables, that it's kind of like that 2 to 3. It doesn't sound like a lot, 10 to 15 tables more, but it's kind of like that 3-degree difference where you really feel it. So I think that's probably what that was. I don't think it's a quick turnaround for my next show. Again, June 17th is the next Madison Card Show. Again, there's some competition with other shows that weekend. being June, Father's Day weekend. Although Father's Day, some people were mentioning, yeah, Father's Day weekend, it's a good father-son activity. So we'll see. We'll see how it is turnout wise for dealers, and we'll see what the turnout is for customers in a few weeks. So I did not have any brats. Did not have any brats yesterday. James says, "What are you buying at yard sales?" I don't want to give that information up. It's something I personally don't go to yard sales. So, but what I was told, and I'm not going to share this information, it's something I never thought of, and it's not something that you're probably going to find at most garage sales, because it's an item that would be thrown away. That's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. I don't want to give up his tip, unless he jumps in the chat and says, "Yeah, here's what it is." You can say it. You can say it. Interesting juxtaposition. True crime is real, and wrestling isn't. You got to have an escape from reality. A little too much reality on true crime. Like, oh my God, this shit actually happened. Wrestling is fake. Let's see. It's not, I shouldn't say that. That upsets some people. It's not fake. It's scripted. Scripted. I've been listening to the same podcast since 2009, 2 episodes a week, one at 1 hour, one at 4 hours. It's amazing they've been able to keep it going for so long, even before getting paid for it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Low Roller says, "Your name is Chicago Cubs in your team name. I thought you were my opponent." No, I am not in your fantasy baseball league. Kyle in the house. "What's happening? Good morning. I see it's a StreamYard kind of day." It is. So I'm going to download the audio and upload it to like a podcast platform and see how that goes. Chris in the house. He says, listing and shipping. Let's go. Shipping and listing and shipping. I'm going to do a lot more shipping today than listing. I did some listing last night. I made some bad buys. I made some bad buys yesterday at the Madison Card Show. I made some good buys for Cubs. Made some bad buys. So let's show off some cards. So my buddy Cody. So this was a good and bad buy with Cody. And now shit, I screwed them all. I screwed the order up. I'm not sure where I got these cards. Okay, those I know came from Josh. That came from Showtime. This came from Chris. I added about 6,000 cards to my Cubs collection. These came from Jeff. Those, I think, came from the last show. I've got some stuff that I picked up in Rockford that was still in my car. Okay. Johnny Callison came from my buddy John Gruber. If you've been to the Madison Card Show, John has the like cigar boxes, and he had the He-Man packs that Herman is now in possession of. The He-Man rack packs. So he found some Johnny Callison 71 and 72s. 71s and 72 for me. So Chris found some vintage for me. Oh, this came from, did that come from? I think that came from Cody. These are vintage from Chris. Those also came from Cody. These are vintage. Some of the stuff that I bought for inventory, I already have listed in my eBay store, which I think I left upstairs. Did I leave all of that crap upstairs? Well, if I left all that upstairs, then it's not going to be a very good show and tell. I think these also came from Chris. Oh, these came from the last show. So I got stuff from the last show. Oh, those came from Jeff. Where did this come from? I can't remember where that comes. I don't remember where I got this. Chris Bryant numbered out of 299. I think I picked this up out of 5 Star Cards dollar box. Those came from the last show. I don't know where those came from. It goes down there. Okay, anyway, let's start showing off. So check out. These are all vintage that Chris, he's Card Fellas on Twitter. He's Chris in the Hobby Evolution Facebook group. Just a whole bunch of vintage. And he also got me a box of Cubs of like junk wax stuff Dick Bertel, 61 tops rookie. 65, Frank Baumann. Johnny Schmidt's old Bowman. Is that what, 51? 51 Bowman. Always like this card. Bob Will rookie card, 60 tops. Tony Lazzari's a 63 Fleer, or 60. Can't remember. Dick Ellsworth, 65 tops. So a bunch of cool stuff. So he dug through. Chris hung out at my bargain boxes. We had some great conversations. And first time, he's like 4 hours away, but was driving through the area. So it was great meeting him and making a great trade. So he had a whole pile of cards, and I'm like, this is a trade. So thank you, Chris. Cody stopped by, 608 Sports Cards. Oh, I did bring the other box. So let's get to that. Okay, so he had this is from Cody, 608. So some like Javi and Seiya Suzuki. And then he also had a box of, this is a fun one that I'll share. A box of like a 500 count, 400 count box of sleeve. A lot of like first Bowman Chrome, some inserts. And then had this Brennan Davis. This is an auto from Leaf. I like Leaf cards. I like this card. It's numbered out of 50. A Nico Horner PSA 9 Sepia rookie card. Christian Hernandez Blue Wave numbered out of 150. Let's see. Oh, I think I'm switching some of these cards. I think that one might have came from Josh. I can't remember. Dakota Mekis, first Bowman Green auto. Yohendrick Pinango, Heritage Miners auto. Pablo Aliendo, first Chrome auto. And then this was probably my favorite stuff. Luis Verdugo. This is a first paper fuchsia, $2.99. A gold paper of 50. And a chrome orange out of 25. So those were fun. And then the box, I think that was a bad buy. I think I overpaid. It was a good buy for the Cubs. And then I think a lot of the stuff that's in the box, I think initially when I was going through it, I overvalued it. So I think that was a bad buy for me as far as recouping. And basically what I mean by a bad buy, it's probably like retail, I got a deal. But in flipping and in trying to recoup some of the money for the Cubs, for me, it was a bad buy. So not a bad buy overall. It was a good deal. But for how I handle like my transactions, didn't quite get what I needed. Which is my own fault. And I did that with all others that I don't think I have down here. So with the others, I bought $13 cards for $13. And, I think there was one or two Cubs. And when I was starting to list them last night, it's like, oh man, this is only a $2 card. This is a $2.50 card. So when you're already subtracting $1 on cost of goods sold, minus your fees, minus your postage, it's like, oh man, not good. So I made that mistake. There were a couple in Cody's, but there were a couple cards that I have listed at $10 that I'll probably end up moving for 5, 6, maybe 7. There were, I think, a couple I pulled out of the dollar box that I think I listed for like $10 in that range, which again, I might get $6, $7, $8. But there were a lot of like $2 cards. So I think on the dollar cards, the 13 $1 cards I bought, I think I'm going to probably eventually just break even, or maybe, probably break even. I don't think I'll take a loss, but I think it'll be break even. The other was Jeff downstairs, and I basically paid $20. There were some refractors, and again, I just overvalued them. I wasn't on my game yesterday without help. eBay sold. I assumed value on some things that I just have to go back to the drawing board. It's like, oh, I missed. So basically what happened was I thought things were, some of the cards I thought were worth $5, but they actually only sell for $2.50, which is a big whoops on my part. But from Jeff, I did buy, even though I swung and missed on some of the refractors I pulled out, I think I only paid like a quarter for those. So if they're $1.50, $2, it's a small margin. But I did pull some $2. These were $2 autos. So this is a win. Corey Black, first chrome blue auto for $2. Brendan Harris, Bowman's best auto. Todd Wellemeyer, numbered out of 400. And Sam Fold, rookie auto from Topps Finest. So $2 a card for those. That's a win. Let's see. Josh didn't have a lot of bulk yesterday, which that's what I love. Like at the beginning, because he gets there at like 6. He like almost beats me. And he got there like right at 6. And he's like, man, I was hoping I'd beat you. I'm like, I'm here at like 5:15. So try harder next time. I like digging through because I get my stuff set up, and then by the time other dealers, there's, a good 30 minutes before other dealers start coming in, so I can dig through boxes. So I picked up, so he did have some stuff. I didn't buy as much as I usually do, but a first chrome, lunar glow of Jefferson Rojas, a Marcus Stroman numbered out of 75. Since meeting Marcus Stroman, I'm kind of picking up more and more Marcus Stroman. Something like that I probably would have passed on. But now after actually meeting him and doing a deal with Marcus Stroman, like, hey, I'm going to start collecting his cards more. So here's this is from the new Heritage. So he had some Heritage singles. So my first Heritage, and I was going to buy a hobby box of Heritage. He had them priced at $90, and I'm like, oh, I'll swing by at the end of the show. Well, I was busy and I forgot. I got home and I'm looking through my cards and I'm like, I was going to buy a box of Heritage, but I spent more than I was planning to anyway. So, Nico Horner relic, purple hot box, Nelson Velasquez rookie. And then probably my favorite cards out of there. Well, and then here's the base rookies. So first Justin Steele rookie and Christopher Morel. My favorites were probably the Moises Ballesteros. He's going to be promoted to South Bend here probably within the next couple of weeks. That's the green shimmer of 99, and then the green paper. So those were some of and my probably the funnest pickup was this box. This box. 300 count full of 1985 Donruss Ron Cey. These are all 85 Donruss Ron Cey cards. So that's fun. So now we can add 85 Donruss Ron Cey to my list of cards that I have likely the most singles of. 85 Donruss Ron Cey, 78 Topps Rick Russell, 2014 Bowman Dylan Cease, the Ethan Roberts base rookie, 87 Topps Ryan Sandberg. Those are probably now in the top 5. Okay, so those were some of my pickups. Ziggy says, John, great insights. You helped me today. Small Town Collectibles says, thoughts on the Redlegs beating up on the Cubbies. India with 2 homers last night. So I will share with you. It was a win-lose situation. Friday, it was literally a win-lose situation because I had both Justin Steele and Hunter Green in my fantasy baseball league. So it was great for Hunter Green, not so great with Justin Steele. Yesterday, Jonathan India hit 2 home runs. Guess what? He's my second baseman in my fantasy baseball league. So the Cubs lose again, but I win with 2 home runs in my fantasy baseball league. I'd rather the Cubs win these games than my success, although there is money attached to my fantasy baseball league. But yeah, the Cubs. And here, I'm going to go off on a small tangent here. There's a lot of now, and I did watch a lot of the game last night after the show, and it's really frustrating. These losses, these mounting losses are really frustrating. especially because I thought, hey, the Cubs are going to win 84 games and they're going to get a wild card spot. The Cubs are in last place, have the worst record in the National League. However, even with the worst record in the National League on May 28th, they're only 4 games out of a playoff spot. They're only 4 games out of the second wild card. They're only 7 games out of the best record in the National League. That's how weak the National League is. By the way, you extrapolate the numbers. Where's Paul? Where's Flipping Sports Guy? Guess how many wins right now, if you extrapolate out to the 162-game season, the second wild card team in the National League, 84 wins. So the National League, what's that tell you? The National League sucks this year, at least as of May 28th. Card Cutter says 6 likes. Those are rookie numbers. Hit that thumbs up, boys. And one of those is me. We only have 5 likes. Because I hit the like button because I'm on StreamYard. I can't see how many likes I have in StreamYard. Mark Marinello, what's up? Good morning. Ziggy says Hobby Hotline is lacking in engagement. Too much lecture, just my opinion. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. There isn't much engagement. It's just, here's my thoughts, here's my opinions. And then every once in a while, if I think topics are addressed, but actual engagement is not addressed. And that should be the point of the show. The show was made to engage with collectors. And I know it's hard when collectors don't choose to call in. But there's not, you're exactly right. There's just not much engagement. And John agrees. You aren't wrong. And Card Cutter also agrees. Show is all over the place. Amen. Dude's talking about Panini getting bought is weak. Talk about Bowman Sapphire and Star Wars Sapphire in the same week. Let's see. Tracy says tied heading into Sunday's games in our fantasy league this week. How is the Hobby Evolution Fantasy Baseball League going? Mark says my favorite podcasts are collectors talking and showing off their collections. I enjoy some of those, but the ones I enjoy are the people I know. It's Zach and Porter. It's Herman. It's John. I'm missing people, and I apologize. But those are the ones that people that I actually know, I engage with here, I engage with on social media, I've met in person. Those are the hobby content podcasts or videos that I enjoy consuming. And I say that I don't care about people's opinions. I do. Victor, the rookie card specialist, I really enjoy his opinions on rookie cards. And I don't always agree with him, but he's very eloquent in how he speaks about, his opinions and all that. So I do enjoy some opinion themes within the hobby. Low Roller wants to know about wrestling. Did you buy the new AEW wrestling cards so you can resell them? No, I did not. I didn't find any on the shelves. What I learned last year with AEW, it's like they do not, like, they're hot out of the gate, kind of like with most products, but then my singles, I still have like a huge stack of AEW singles in my eBay store that haven't sold. So, I'm going to stay in my lane. Let's see. Henry says, anyone still get cards from Topps no purchase necessary? Will Fanatics continue that? I've never done that. Somebody on Twitter sent me a card, and it was like a Cubs base, Topps flagship team card that they received in a no purchase necessary. I know some people do it. I've never done it. Maybe when I was a kid, I might have, but I don't recall. So that means I probably did not. Good morning. There's Victor. By the way, my best pickup yesterday wasn't a card. It was tamales. Thank you, Victor. Victor brought me those delicious tamales. I did not have them last night, but I will eat them for lunch today, and I am looking forward to it. I didn't eat lunch yesterday. We had a concession stand. I'm going to talk about the concession. We had a concession stand yesterday, and it was open from like 9 to noon. and the show runs until 3. Who wants a hot dog at 9 a.m.? So I have to talk to the hotel. I have to talk to my rep about this at the hotel. It's like, it was a great, and I bought a Pepsi. Like normally, like they have like a, I don't even know what you call it, like a cafe type area where they have refrigerated sandwiches that I've every once in a while I've picked one up. I've gone downstairs. Pepsi, if I need like a boost of caffeine, which I did yesterday. But normally it's like, screw it. I'll just fill up my water bottle. But yesterday it's like, I need, because I almost in the morning got a second coffee. It's like, I don't want to go downstairs. But if it's there, so I had a Pepsi, a $3.17 Pepsi can, 12 ounces. And I'm like, for lunch, hey, I'm going to have a hot dog for lunch. And by like 12:30, they shut down the concessions. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's lunchtime and you're shutting down already? Like they probably lost. Because I asked one of the guys after, I'm like, how did the concessions? Not really good. And I'm like, well, you closed at noon. So I've got to bring that up with the hotel. Like, if you're going to run a concession stand, if you only have like an employee to work 3 hours, do it from like 11 to 2 when people are actually going to purchase said items from a concession stand. So that's the knock I have on the concession stand. It's a nice little perk. I didn't lose table space because the 2 tables that normally are there on that end, I just moved on the wall. And I think that worked out. But we'll see moving forward what happens. Ziggy says, why isn't the Golden lawsuit for flipping his show to Netflix not more discussed? That's a really good point. I first saw that lawsuit brought up by Paul Lesko. Let's see. Interesting. Paul Lesko, the attorney on Twitter, he's like the hobby attorney. That's his niche. And so he had like, he's like, there's actually like a preview type deal on the Golden show on the idea behind a Ken Golden themed show. And I watched the preview by the person that filed the lawsuit against Netflix and Golden. The idea is identical. Watch the preview if you can find it. The preview of the original idea, it was called The Golden Boys. And it's basically the same theme as The King of Collectibles that is currently on Netflix. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know law, but it looks pretty egregious. And I don't know how the law works in terms of, we're not privy to the contract. Maybe there was some contract that was signed like, hey, blah, blah, blah. So we don't know like some of the details behind it, but it's going to be an interesting case to follow because in my opinion, that idea and what's currently airing on Netflix are the same thing. So that's my thought. Max says, dang, didn't know it was that much of an issue. Oh man, what was I talking about? I don't know what the issue was. Paul, what's happening? Paul had a great day in sales. Love it. Love it. Paul is Baseball Card Haven. Sold the supplies. Sold the boxes at the end. Didn't have to take boxes home. MD Sports Max says 06 is Alex Gordon and Hunter Pence. Yes, that is correct. How far behind him? I'm 30 minutes behind in the chat. Who do you look for in 1988 tops? Nobody. Tom Glavine. That's it. Tom Glavine. Bo Jackson. Some stars that'll sell for $1.50. 88 tops. Not a good set. Good morning, George. Good evening to you, sir. Bargain Boxer says breakers are dippers. Ziggy says, thanks for the awesome engagement. Have a great Sunday and Monday, chat and host. Thank you much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Paul says, I will have more next month. Love it. Love it. John says, dealers should prepay always. That's, it's basically the honor system. Most of the dealers, if it's the dealers that are regulars, I trust, like Paul. I don't need Paul to prepay. Sheena. I don't need Sheena to prepay. I don't need to, there's many, and I'm mentioning those guys by name because they're here in the chat this morning. I trust those guys. And I trust that if they reach out to me at 7 a.m., that it's a legit excuse. And I had one dealer reach out to me and I know it was a legit excuse. But I had another one that I question because there's been other excuses in the past, morning of the show. And that's the type of thing where it's like, okay, either you're out of the show or you're going to prepay. All first-time dealers, I require prepayment because I don't know that. I haven't built rapport. So that takes a lot of stress off my back, having dealers prepay, even some regulars that prepay. Like there's guys that will prepay that I'm not worried about. But it is nice because it's one less, because it's not the one thing with collecting payment, especially when I'm set up. When I'm not set up, it's not easy because it's not like I'm just going, hey, I want your money, and then they pull out cash and we go. Sometimes that happens, but usually we're having a conversation. And when you have a conversation with 70 dealers, that takes a lot of time. So time is an issue in some cases. Paul says my sales were the same as March and April. Okay, that's good. That's good. My sales were a fraction of March. We're talking 25% of my March sales. I didn't set up in April. But my sales were 25% of March. However, my March sales were way more than I expected. I would say my sales were about 75% shy of what I thought I would do this month. But it was also the weird, it's a holiday weekend. You don't know how turnout's going to be, all that stuff. Garrett says toilet paper at garage sales. Let's see. James says, what were your bad buys? Chicago Bears cards. Okay, Cubs cards might be a bad buy right now, looking at the record. Henry says, probably old ticket stubs. The garage sale items, no, it's not even sports related. Not even sports related. Chris says, good morning from sunny Corvallis, Oregon. Hey, home of the Beavers. Dick Ellsworth also went to my high school. Same one as Frank Chance. Hey, very cool. Cubs legends. Let's see. Cooter says, happy Indy 500 Day, my favorite sporting event of the year. So, of course, my daughter's dance recital is today. Cooter, enjoy the Indy 500. I will not partake in any Indy 500. It was always a big day for my dad. My dad loved the Indy 500, but I never really got into it. For a brief time in the early to mid 90s, I was a NASCAR fan, just for a glimpse in time. Red Light 34 says, go Reds. They're killing my Cubs. Killing them. Low Roller, I'm playing you in fantasy, close match. Victor is the Cub. There you go. Victor is playing. Clayton Gordon, what's up? Had a great first show. Clay, thank you for coming out. I don't even think we had a chance to chat. I apologize. Thanks again for organizing and put that on. I appreciate that. Hit me up if you want to do June 17th. Victor, what's happening? I love you too. We've got the bromance going. I love it. I love it. Kiosk. I love kiosk. That's a fun word to say. How was the non-sports cards there? It's pretty good. So I always wonder what people's definitions are for non-sports. If you're meaning like Elvis, Charlie's Angels, or if you're talking Pokemon and Magic. It's a very strong Pokemon show. If Max is still here, he can attest. He enjoys the show for Pokemon. There's a lot of Pokemon dealers. Matt, I don't know if there's as many like other TCG cards. I wouldn't know. I honestly wouldn't be able to pick out between a Magic and a Pokemon and other TCG. Although I do know Charizard is Pokemon. For like non-sports in terms of like music cards, TV shows and movies, very slim, very slim. Not much there. Although one of my dealers downstairs, Greg, has an amazing pre-war collection and vintage. He has some vintage non-sport. He had a Chuck Norris that he just picked up from like 1974. He had an Elvis card that I'd never seen before. So he had some unique non-sports items. And he has some great baseball stuff. He's got like an entire case of 1800s cards. Unfortunately, no Chicago 1800s cards. But he did have a 1928 Tharps ice cream Hack Wilson that I love. But I don't love how much they cost. He had $1,000 on it out of my price range. Victor says the hot dogs were okay. Yeah, it's a hot dog. You would have been better off eating your tamales. Odd Merchants Vintage, you could invite a lunch truck to the show if the hotel no longer wants to offer food. They will not. So they do not allow outside food. So because they have their own chef and their own catering company that hosts. So food trucks are out of the question. So I could not do a food truck. Chris says, of all the great moments on this show, Bo checking a text on his phone and whispering interesting is among the best. I didn't realize I did that. I did not realize I did that. And a show registered with the Writers Guild of America. It was the exact premise of Dance Moms. I had no leg to stand on. But honor goes both ways, Bubba. That's true. It's very true. Those you trust have no problem prepaying. Make it your policy. It's a good point. My fantasy team is on fire right now. A 3-game winning streak. Bo's dad called race cars speeding cars. Max says, non-sports, not great. Plenty of Pokemon. A few dealers had Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh. You might have mentioned it and I missed it, but did you get your tickets? Oh, I did. Yes. So I did get I finally got my VIP ticket because I was stubborn and kept dragging my feet on the super VIP, which sold out in January. And I'm like, the VIP is not going to sell out, but it probably will. So now it probably won't because I have it, but I have my VIP ticket. So yes, I have my VIP ticket. My hotel is booked. So now I am 100% committed, which I was 100% committed, just didn't have the ticket. If I would have missed the VIP, I would have just bought tickets every day and cost myself money. But hotel's booked, tickets are booked. National 2023. Let's see. John says, not sure the hotel with its limited parking situation out front would be welcoming to a food truck taking revenue away from their own. Yes, that's exactly correct. Paul in the house, stopping in late, but how was foot traffic? Golf won the day. Foot traffic was great. I mentioned it earlier. It was better than expected for being 80 degrees, sunny, and competing with the weather and Brat Fest and graduations and weddings and all that other stuff. So traffic was better than expected. Certainly it wasn't as good as the January, February, March, April shows, which is a given. June's going to be down. I wouldn't be surprised if the June traffic was less than Memorial Day, the May show. Summer months are tough. Traffic's going to be down. It's not because the hobby is dying. It's not because card shows are dying. It's because it's summer in the Midwest and we have better things to do than sit in a stuffy hotel room looking at baseball cards. So traffic was great, better than expected. I think it's probably going to be similar traffic and maybe a little less over the next couple months. June, I would expect a little less traffic than what we saw yesterday. July, I think we'll see similar. This is just from the last 2 years. I think July will be similar to what we saw yesterday. I think there's going to be a lot of buyers at the July show. I think a lot of money will be spent by customers in July preparing for the National. That's what we saw last year. People came in and spent tons of money because they wanted to get cards to take to the National, which was in Atlantic City last year. This year, it's 2 hours down the road in Rosemont. So I think July will be a great show for money exchanging hands. And then I think we start slowly seeing traffic increase as we get into the fall. August probably going to be a slower. It's August 26th, so school will be back here, I think school starts like after Labor Day. So So August might be a little slow yet. By September, October, you start to see that increase in traffic. And then all of a sudden, January, it's off the chain, as the kids say these days, I think. And then January through April are going to be your biggest months. And then all of a sudden, it's May, June, July, and people are, oh my God, where are all the people? Well, they're outside because it's 80 degrees. So where are we at? Wait, how many nationals are there? I think that's a joke. But Scott Nelson in the house, the legend himself. Scott Nelson. I am going to try to make the next show in the stuffy hotel room, Saturday, June 17th. Bring your cards. Scott's got a great collection sitting in boxes. You need to unbox them and set up. You should set up a table. You could have a table next to me and sell your cards. Odd Merchants Vintage. The fact baseball is the only major sport in the summer months will affect shows, but once July comes in the national, preseason football hype nears. Preseason football hype has begun already. That's what I've started to notice over the last 2 years. Football hype begins in May, and then it ramps up. And by the end of August, it's kind of dead. What I noticed and this is just from my own booth, my own sales, my July and August football sales were crazy. My September, and we're talking early September, like maybe the second week of the season, my football sales sucked. Like nobody was even looking at my football cards in September. It was all July, August, and May. It started a little bit May, June. I hear more like right now speculation, Jordan Love, Justin Fields. Everybody's buying Jordan Love, Justin Fields. 2 years ago was Josh Allen. So right now, Justin Fields, Jordan Love, everybody's buying those on the speculation that they will be, big stars. John says, I disagree that seasons impact shows. You would be wrong. Seasons absolutely impact shows, at least in the shows that I frequent. Seasons absolutely impact shows. 100%. Now, maybe in your area or the shows you frequent, but in my area, at the shows I frequent, seasonality is huge. Bargain Boxer says, don't be surprised if not much money is being spent in July at the show because money today ain't the free money we've had in the last 2 years. I'll disagree because last year we didn't have free money. 2 years ago, yes. I didn't see that money being spent in July before the National again in Rosemont. Last year it was crazy. So, 1 year, maybe 1 year, 1 year does not make a trend. But we'll see if that carries on. I will say some of the people that were buying last year are still spending a lot. The guys that I saw spending a lot of money last year are still spending a lot of money at card shows. It's the 80-20 rule. It's 20% of the people in the room that are accounting for 80% of the revenue. And those guys, that 20% of guys and ladies, are still spending money because I see them spending money to this day at shows. So I think that trend will continue. I think that, it's not a trend, but I think that will continue and we'll see a trend begin. 90s football and basketball has been great the past months. I did have a couple guys looking for 90s basketball. I'm not seeing that in my eBay store though. At card shows, I do see, and again, it's a very, very, very small sample size. When you're talking one or two guys, I'm looking for 90s basket. I could have one guy. Hey, I'm looking for Brendan Harris autographs. So, GW says, do you see potential for an uptick with eBay switching sellers to the new international shipping plan? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that. I haven't really read much into that. I did read, and I haven't read anything further than I was tagged in a tweet this morning about eBay. There were a lot of issues with eBay this weekend. I personally have not seen any issues in my store. So Liz Morton, value added resource on Twitter, said eBay Memorial Day weekend meltdown continues. Sellers report quantities randomly increased and sold items relisted. Will eBay protect sellers from cancellations, service metric penalties, and negative feedback due to this glitch? So I don't know. I have not seen any of these issues within my store. But I'm going to do a little deeper dive into that. She goes on, she replies, from what many sellers are reporting, it seems like listings that are affected are having the original quantity when listing was created back in. So if the listing started a year ago with 500, but now only has 5, the 500 is being added back in for a total of 505. Or if you only had 1 and sold it, so it should be 0, that is being added back, and the listing shows quantity 1. Well, I can go in and just see, how many listings do I have, and that can be a pretty good let's see. Oh shit. So yeah, my search items, I don't know, maybe that doesn't affect it, but from what I have sold so far this weekend, it's not been falsely added to my knowledge. Let's see. John says shows are strong regardless of the season. Not all the time. Not all the time. There's a lot of reasons why shows are sometimes slower than others. The Midwest premiere 2 weeks ago, last week, or whenever it was, traffic was terrible. But the October show, traffic was crazy. And I think it has everything to do with the timing. Middle of May is not a good time for card shows in relation to other months. However, when you're here in the Midwest, and what stinks is sometimes the best card shows are in the worst months because you're dealing with potential blizzards and winter storms. One of my best shows this year was in Rockford in January when we had a blizzard. People will drive in blizzards for cards. So, maybe that's proving your point. I don't know, but it's just from 2 years of doing this regularly, I've noticed a trend in the seasons and how it affects traffic. Max says summertime 100% affects shows around here. Hell, winter does too if there's a foot of snow that dropped the day before. Absolutely. 100%. Cooter, trying to explain this stream to a friend who's watching with me, getting strange looks. Please say hi to Alexis. Alexis, what's up? John says I'm talking sports seasons. I go to plenty. Oh, okay. Now I get you. Sports seasons, I agree. Sports seasons does not affect, baseball. Just because baseball is the only game being played in the summer, that's not why card show traffic is down. It's because of the season, the climate, the weather. So, okay, I'm with you, John, on that. I am with you on that. I go to plenty of shows and plenty of regions, and baseball is big all year round. I would agree with that. Basketball and hockey are in theory at their apex right now. Bo just done said football is big right now. Yes. Okay. So now I think we're on the same page. Now we're all singing Kumbaya and we're in agreement. If we were talking sports season, I think there's definitely an effect around here for sure. Football gets white hot at the end of summer, but only certain players sell year round, without a doubt, 100%. And take it a step further, Sunday shows impact traffic negatively because people want to, watch the games. They don't want to watch it from a card show. They want to watch it from their couch or from Lambeau Field or Soldier Field. Tracy says, I've started hunting Bowman's Best atomic refractors from the 90s. Love how they look. John says, I had a card sell that I couldn't find. I had to pull it out of my collection. Maybe I got jabbed by eBay. Ooh, interesting. Maybe that. How do I find out? I don't know. Here, I'm going to drop the link to Liz Morton's article, valueaddedresource.net. Make sure it's not porn. Nope, not porn. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Asblan. That happened to be a couple weeks ago. A sold item was relisted and sold. I didn't realize it sold and looked for it but but eventually realized and had to cancel. Sometimes that happens. In the past, it may have happened because it's happened to me on auctions. I rarely run auctions, but I've had that happen where it just keeps relisting. And for whatever reason, I'm sure it's an operator error on my part, but I have had that happen in the past, but it's, I think, auction related. I thought we were talking about sporting seasons, not weather seasons. Now we're on the same page. May has graduations, tournaments, dance recitals, etc. It's a time to do shit. Absolutely. Max says, I think apexes have changed now since everybody is just looking to flip. Want to sell at the start of the season now, not playoffs. Yes, absolutely. Randy was at the Rockford Blizzard show. I was shocked to see that many white stinky guys in a room with the blizzard going on outside. It was one of those, we knew there was snow coming. And like I had even mentioned to John and Mike, the promoters, the day before, I'm like, hey man, there's a big storm. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then, like the night before, it was, they'd kind of moved out the prediction of the snow's going to start at like 2. And I'm like, okay, that'll be okay. I'll drive there and I'll be okay. The drive home might be a little dicey. Well, that's exactly what happened. However, it started snowing earlier than they predicted. It started snowing at like 9 or 10. So it was smooth sailing on my way to the show. However, the drive home was a bitch, because by that time it had already snowed several inches and it was still coming down. So yeah, the Rockford Blizzard show. We're gonna be old crusty guys in 30 years. Shit, how old am I? Maybe not. They're maybe 20. We're gonna be old crusty guys at a card show. We're gonna be the old guys. Remember that Rockford Blizzard show of 23? Oh, we had 38 inches by noon. It's the fish that kept growing. Dave, what's happening? Selling at my first card show, June 30th to July 2nd at the Jersey Shore Wildwood. Sounds like I'm doomed. I hope not. But my biggest piece of advice for doing a card show, and Dave, I don't know how many shows you've done. If this is your first card show. I should reading comprehension, Bo. First card show. Dave, my advice to you, my biggest piece of advice, if I only had to give one piece of advice on setting up at your first card show, it would be this. Go in with extremely low expectations. Be happy to break even on your table fee. That's my advice. So many people go in, myself included. I'm guilty of it every show I do. Okay, I've got this new inventory. I know I'm going to make this amount of money. And guess what? I fall short and it ticks me off. That's just the way it goes. And I see first timers get so excited. I'm going to make so much money. Look at all the people. Then they don't sell a damn thing, or they only sell a couple things and they lost money. That happens. So go in with extremely low expectations. I've been loading up on my Billy Ripken F face cards. There you go. So that's what I had for today. Overall, Madison Card Show was a success. Had a good time. I think, and actually didn't get to probably many things I wanted to talk about. One thing I do before I leave that I just remembered. I think one thing that made me the happiest was hearing from multiple people yesterday, customers, compliment the dealers and say, you know what I really love about this show is all of the dealers are really nice. You know, there's no dicks in here. That's what she said. You know, everybody's really nice. And, you know, there's a camaraderie. And it really is. Like, you see, like, I see some of the same faces, and they've never set up at the show, but they come in and, you know, we talk and, you know, talk about cards and just the nerds we are. And you know, dealers alike. And there's a camaraderie, and there's, you know, everybody's friendly. You know, you don't see too many curmudgeons. I haven't sold a thing. And so that made me happy. Like hearing that the dealers are nice, friendly, all that good stuff. I had a couple middle school dealers yesterday. You know, kids that were setting up. Their dads accompanied them. So that's always fun to see. I also did hear, I was just walking through, and one of the things I find important is for me, it's almost like undercover boss when I'm sitting digging through somebody, another dealer's box, and just listening to other people talk about the show, because you get honest feedback that way. If they don't know I'm the promoter of the show, they're like, oh, this show sucks, or this show's awesome, because I know it's truthful. We often hide the truth face to face because we don't want to hurt feelings. But if you don't know who's running the show, you can just say, oh man, this show's terrible. Why? I wonder why they do this. I wonder if that's, and I heard some of the things a couple things that I picked up on yesterday as I was just sitting down and looking through boxes. A couple guys were walking through the upstairs room, and I think they had just been downstairs. I don't know if they were talking about Pokemon or something else, but I think it was Pokemon. And they're like, yeah, there was a lot of whatever, downstairs. I wonder if that's by design. And it's not. It's not. It's basically, I don't put vintage guys in this corner and new guys over here and Pokemon over there. It's basically like, if there's a spot open, that's where I put a dealer. If they like the spot and they're regulars, they can stay in that spot. You miss a few shows, sorry, a new guy just Wally pipped you. So there's no design. There's no design behind it. Sometimes if I have I try to avoid putting guys that sell sealed wax, not next to each other. If they're in the same room, that's okay. But I'm not going to put them in tables right next to each other. So there's really not, and with how much fluidity there is to setting up the card show. I mean, day of, I'm taking cancellations. I'm getting new people in. I don't know what they have. So it's like half the dealers, I don't even know what they have until they bring it. So that's one thing I caught. Another comment I heard, I was just walking by and just briefly in passing heard somebody say, I can't believe how many kids are here, like wheeling and dealing with adults. And that's cool. Kids wheeling and dealing. We need kids in the hobby, right? For the hobby to grow. We talked about that when the hobby was dying 10 years ago. We need more kids in the hobby. Now we have more kids in the hobby, but a lot of the curmudgeons say, well, we don't want those kids. We don't want the Pelican case kids. We want kids like us. Well, guess what? Kids like us don't exist, because this is a new generation. Each generation is different. Kids today don't walk to their IGA and buy 35-cent packs of Tops with a piece of bubble gum inside. The game has changed. This generation is not our generation. Our generation wasn't our parents' generation, their parents' generation. It's all generational. So that's fun. Seeing kids wheel and deal. It builds, some of these kids, it's like, this kid's going to be a good businessman. This kid's going to be a good businessman. Let's see. Bargain Boxer says to Dave, sell below comps. Scott says, what's a Pelican case, kid? So a Pelican case is those like black cases that you put your slabs in. So if you see people walking around a card show with like small black cases, that's basically a Pelican case. That's where you put your slabs. This is my Pelican case. A $1 500 count box, and I put my quarter cards in there. That's my Pelican case. See? Now it's official. Bo's Pelican case. So that's my Pelican case. It's what I carry around at shows. I don't know if you saw this, Scott. This is a box full of 1985 Donruss Ron Say. Paul says my PSA return brown box is my Pelican case. There you go. Tyler's in the house. There was a first-time dealer downstairs yesterday with a nice setup, $2 and $5 boxes, most cards below comps. Which dealer was that? Because I don't think I dug through their boxes. I'm trying to think. Who had boxes? Oh, was it Jeff maybe? Jeff had like 3 tables, and he had a lot of 50-cent cards. And yes, those are all the Ron Sace 85 Donruss cards. Yeah, I'm not sure which dealer that was, but I'll have to go find them. I know it wasn't Greg. It was Jeff. Okay. Yeah, Jeff has awesome stuff. That's where I bought some of my autos. I bought a couple Cubs autos and a couple like autos that I'm just going to put on eBay. And then some like chrome refractors that were in his quarter boxes. Yeah, he sets up, he's kind of semi-regularly. If there's no shows, like because he's from Chicago. So if there's no shows in the Chicago area, he'll come up and do my show. So he does it 5-6 times a year, 4 or 5, 6 times a year. So it's good to have him back out. So that's what I had for today. Again, Madison Card Show was fun. Had a good time. Thank you for, I had several people bring me Cubs cards, so thank you for that. I got some good deals. I made some bad buys on my own. I didn't have an idea of the market. I made some bad buys. That's okay. That happens. You can't hit a home run every at bat unless you're Christopher Morel. Speaking of, I'm just rambling this morning. Christopher Morel. So I did a deal with Eric, who sets up, he's got a lot of bargain box stuff. He was set up next to me upstairs. So we did a cash trade deal for his tables for a 5,000 count box of Cubs. And it's like all modern. So he gave me his price. And I said, as long as there's not like junk in here, like I don't want any 80s or 90s stuff for this price. He's like, oh no, it's all new. There might be a couple, and there were a couple like 90 Donruss, but like very few. So he pulled the first stack he pulls out. There's like 7 or 8 Christopher Morel first Bowmans. And he's like, how'd these get in here? And I'm like, oh, too bad. We've already got a deal. So that was just in one stack. So hopefully there's a lot more where that came from. And I might actually throw those on eBay with his market right now. So I actually went looking to see what Christopher Morel cards I had from breaks from his first Bowman year, but I have no idea where they're at. So hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming out to the Madison Card Show yesterday. Again, the next show is on Saturday, June 17th at the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolen Drive. 125 tables available. I do have availability. So if you are looking to be a dealer, let me know. We can get you hooked up. Saturday, June 17th, and that'll be the next show I set up as a dealer. The Janesville Card Show is next Sunday. I will not be there. I'll be at Anawan Fun Days. So I'm sporting my Anawan hoodie today. So next Sunday, next Sunday, I'll probably be having a cup of coffee in Anawan awaiting the Fun Days parade. So I think that's all I had for today. Hit my eBay store up. I'll be adding some more stuff this week. Added some new stuff last night, so check that out. 7 or more at regular price, and you'll get 25% off at checkout. Now, hit the like button, subscribe. Have a great Sunday. I will go live tomorrow. Since it's Memorial Day, I don't know if I'll go right at 7. Might do 8 o'clock. I don't know. But I will go live tomorrow morning, and then back to the regular schedule on Tuesday. So have a great Sunday. Enjoy the Indy 500 or whatever else you're doing today, and we'll talk tomorrow.